I've been involved in the company for the last 12 years, worked full time with them, and just recently we've gotten another person to work full time with me. So there's now two of us that work for the company, which is fantastic. So we are run by a voluntary board of directors. So no more than Valerie talking there, it's, to me, it's just amazing the amount of voluntary work that people put into their communities. And it's without that voluntary work, basically, I don't think very much would be done. So I think we do have to give kudos to all the people. And I'm sure there's a lot of people on the call here who are on it voluntary, giving up their own time to find out what they can do for their communities. So fair play to everyone. But just to give you a brief background on BACD. So we're a community development company. It was set up back in 1999 from a direct result of massive job losses here in Ballinasloe. So look, it was set up by the community for the community. And our main mantra or ethos or goal is about economic development and bringing sustainable jobs into the area. But as over the last 25 years, something similar to what Valerie was saying, we have changed and we do different roles. So when I'm giving an overview of the company, I kind of like to say that we have two main branches. The first is kind of the economic side and the second is the community. The project I'm talking about today is economic. So I'll discuss the economics in a minute. But just to give you a quick overview of the sort of stuff that we do on the community side. So one of our main community projects is our Ballinasloe Life magazine, which is something we are very proud of. It's been running for the last 12 years. So that is a glossy magazine, 68 pages we're up to now, that we deliver free into every house in the urban area. And we also deliver them to our hinterland. So it gives us a great perspective of what's happening in the community, but also gives us that connection with the different members of our community. Other community projects that we run is we're involved in the Christmas lights in the town. So one of our main goals is about the revitalisation of the town centre. So we're involved in different projects trying to enhance that. We are part of the Sustainable Energies community. We're actually just about to launch our action plan over the next couple of weeks. We also have set up a 10-year plan for the town. And that involves one of the pillars in that project, for example, is tourism. So that's something that we have been working on here, and it's great to see that the Just Transition money that Fáilte Ireland have recently announced, and we will be hopeful that Ballinasloe will be able to utilise those funds because we feel here Ballinasloe is completely underutilised as far as tourism is concerned. Like, we have the Blue Way, we are on the Beara Breffni Way, and we're going to be on the Green Way as well. So we feel it's a real selling point for the town. So it's something that we're working on here in the community to make ourselves a tourism hub. And there's other things that we work on in the community. I know one of my favourite ones, for example, is the Garbally Zombie Walk. So some of you may be aware or familiar with Garbally School here in Ballinasloe, and we organise a zombie walk every Halloween, and it's just a community event where people pay to come and get frightened walking around the woods. So we do a lot of varied community projects along with our economic stuff. So then just to touch base on our economic activities that we do. So our flagship project is Ballinasloe Enterprise Centre. So if I move over, you should be able to see it in my background screen there. So that's an old hospital building, was obviously part of the St. Bridget's campus. And back in 1999, the development company took it over and purchased it from the HSE and transformed it into the Ballinasloe Enterprise Centre. And so over the last 20 years, different grants and funding has been drawn down to make it into a state-of-the-art enterprise hub. So we have been completely full for the last 4 years. I currently have 28 enterprises here employing over 180 people. So it's on the back of the strength of the Enterprise Centre and the need for enterprise space in the town that we ended up applying to the Just Transition Fund to look for money to set up a remote working hub. And we wanted to be based in the town centre because where we're currently based is 2 kilometres outside Ballinasloe town. So we wanted to have a base in the town centre. So at the time when the Just Transition Fund opened, we actually had applied. There was a premises that we had found, and we had gotten a 10-year lease from the owner, and we had applied to upgrade it into a remote working hub. But from the time that we made the initial application to the time the discussions were going on in relation to the fund, a building actually came up for purchase in the town centre that was ideal. So in between the two, we actually ended up purchasing this building, and we ended up being able to transfer the funds over onto the new building. So just to give you an overview of our proposal that we applied to the Just Transition for. So we ended up getting 490,000 from the Just Transition Fund, and it was for the creation of what we're calling the Pulse Hub, which is a remote digi hub, and it is going to be based in the town centre. So we have purchased the Bank Chambers building on Society Street, which was an old, it used to be the Bank of Ireland, and recently it was a hairdresser's offices on the ground floor and residential apartments on the first and second floors. So we purchased the premises, and then we appointed our design team and we started applying for planning. So I suppose, again, learnings and different stuff that happened along our journey. One of the first things was, because of COVID and everything else, there was difficulty getting vacant possession of the premises. So it took nearly 18 months for the sale to go through. But I have to say, I have a fantastic board of directors here, and we took the plunge, and we proceeded with the design team and the design and applying for planning permission, even though the sale hadn't gone fully through. But we felt it was a calculated risk, and there was no point holding up everything until we actually got the keys. So thankfully everything went through, and the sale went through just in July last year. So where we are currently at with the project, so as I'm sure many might understand, and I know Valerie definitely feels my pain at the minute, since we first applied for the fund and everything else, prices have completely skyrocketed. So where we are currently at with the project, between the purchase of the premises, the construction works, our design team fees, we are looking at a total project cost of 1.5 million. So as a development company, we've taken out a loan of over 300,000 from the credit union to purchase the premises. We are putting in over 100,000 of our own funds. We've recently just got money through the Town and Village programme through Galway County Council for certain elements of the job. And then we obviously have the Just Transition Fund. So if anyone is out there with your calculators and you tot all them up, you'll see that we roughly have funding of 1.2 million, and the project cost is currently at 1.5 million. And we are hopeful to start construction this month. It probably will be next month by the time the contractors start on site. So we're obviously scrambling at the minute, discussing with multiple stakeholders, trying to make up the deficit. And we've a few different, I suppose, irons in the fire, and we're hoping that a few, if not all, come through for us. But it obviously is, I suppose, nervous times, I suppose. But one thing we're quite strong about is the need for this project. We already have a waiting list of people that want to move into the building. We have a fantastic entrepreneurial network set up known as the Pulse Club. We're actually meeting tomorrow, and the hope is this building will form the base for that group. So this is where everyone will be able to meet. The idea of the hub, when it's fully completed, it will be able to house up to 40 people. But then also be able to host networking events. And the idea being it'll be a hub where people can go and meet and network and support each other. So yeah, we're just about to start construction, and hopefully this time next year we will have a completed project, and people will be moving in. So just, I suppose, our learnings from the Just Transition to date, I'll double down on absolutely everything that Valerie said. 100% agree with everything. She said, the other thing I will say is I could have done a full presentation here today on the different fundings that we've applied for that we didn't get. So it's just always stay knocking on the door. The funders are there. If you have a project you believe in, follow it through, stay strong. There's a lot of bumps on the road, but just stay plugging away. Things will fall into place eventually. The other things, obviously, for us is just transition. And obviously, public procurement is a quagmire and it's a nightmare. There's no point pretending otherwise, but they're the rules that you have to play with when you're drawing down government grant aid. So the dreaded e-tenders and stuff do come into play. I'm a civil engineer is my background, so I had a bit of experience in it, but it is still quite difficult. For smaller groups, I would say bring in expertise and if needs be, pay for it. It will be worth its weight in gold if you don't have the skill set yourself. But the main takeaway, I would say, is it is hard work. There's a lot of unknowns. There are risks that have to be taken. But if you believe in your project, stick with it. Reach out. I know, as Valerie said, they reached out to ourselves here when they were applying. But reach out to other groups. I think this forum of bringing people together, so peer learning that we can learn off each other, is invaluable. So always reach out to others that are in a similar position or might have done something similar before. Because, there's no point everyone making the same mistake twice. If anyone does want to contact me, I'm happy to help and I can share some of my war stories with you. But I definitely would say to everyone, if there's a project in your community that you believe in, go for it and reach out for help. One of my main job roles is to be aware of the different fundings that are out there. And so I then bring them to my board and we decide whether or not we're going to apply for them. Then depending on what the funding is for and what the project is for, I'd have different members of our board, would join me and help me or assist me to get the funding. If I can just turn it on its head a small bit, with all the different groups and networks that we're involved in, I suppose I'm nearly, or at times can get the point at people come and go, oh, Lynn, BACD should apply for this fund to do something. And I nearly have to push back sometimes on funds. Because I'm like, is it part of our plans? So the example I use, someone will come to me and they'll be adamant that, we should apply to set up a Tiddlywinks organisation. And I'm like, well, just because there's money to do it. And I'm like, well, was that part of our plans? Is that, one of our goals? And, so sometimes I nearly have to push back from certain fundings, just because there's money there to do something doesn't necessarily mean that you should do it. Because that would be one of my biggest advice, is not to chase the money. If the money fits into your plans and your goals and what you want to do, absolutely. If you need to tweak your project so it fits the funding goals, well and good. But, don't change your overall goals just because there's money. And I suppose the just transition, I think, can and will be a perfect example of that. There's no point doing a project just for the funds. And then just in relation to the funding, what we do, again, depending on the project, we would see, can the project itself raise the match funding? And then obviously we have the strength of the company and the enterprise centre here that we can put in the match funding up front. And then we would hope that the project can generate the money back. So that's the way we do it here.